Hello.
Hello, Rachel.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm Gatlin.
Nice to meet you, Gatlin.
What's your last name?
Loucks.
Louts. Okay.
Yep.
And what for our listeners, welcome to the podcast. This is episode today entitled Operation Horses Heal: Learning How to Slow Down with the Herd.
Yeah.
And with us today is Rachael Loucks, owner and operator of Operations Horses Heal. And Rachel, tell us more about you. Where are you located? What got you into this?
Operation Horses Heal is located in Westboro, Wisconsin. My husband, his name is Rooster, and I are the co-founders and co-directors of the organization. He would love to be here today, but he is at his I'm not working in a nonprofit job.
Okay.
uh, so, yeah, we started this work. Um, it all started when we volunteered at another equine assisted services program down in Lavelle called the Veterans Equine Trail Service. Um, we loved the way they were doing things. We volunteered to haul some hay for them. My husband's a trucker by trade, and he's like, let's haul some hay for these guys. So we went down, we hauled some hay for them. We did a few other volunteer projects for them. And what we noticed is there wasn't anything similar in the northern part of the state. So there in the southern part of the state, or once you get closer to Illinois, or in some of the areas that are a bit more urban, access to equine, and when I say equine, I mean horses and donkeys. Access to horses and donkeys is a lot bigger. Access to being able to receive equine therapy if you want to go the therapy route, or if you want to go the facilitated learning route, it's just more available in those parts of the state. But in our very rural neck of the woods, access is really limited. There's not a lot of options. And there's not a lot of options for really like the non-traditional route to doing things for your wellness. And when we saw what this program was doing, it got the wheels turning. We started thinking, can we do something similar? Do we have that capacity? And so little by little, we started to get things sort of rolling and moving along. I went through some certification to be able to facilitate with the horses and really make sure that I'm staying in my scope of practice, so that I'm kind of staying in my lane for what I'm qualified to do. And and then we started a for-profit business that actually serves the civilian community, just to see if it was even feasible. And what we found is that more people than we ever imagined were interested in learning about themselves, learning about slowing down, learning about managing stress, communicating more effectively, while interacting with horses and donkeys. And it's just been kind of an amazing journey along the way.
Hmm. How long has it been?
We started in 2019, so right around when COVID was really getting rolling, or just kind of starting, was when we decided that we were going to start a new business
All
venture.
right.
The
Uh,
nonprofit's been in existence since 2021.
okay. So what are the difference or what are the roles of the nonprofit versus the profit? Could you just explain that for us?
The nonprofit exclusively serves the veteran community. We exclusively serve veterans, active military, or their immediate families. So part of our philosophy is when one person in the family serves, the whole family serves, whether it's in a different context, but everybody's impacted by service. And so we wanted to make sure that we were offering our services free of charge. to the families as well. So the way that we obtain funding for what we do is through community partnerships, through grants, through fundraisers, things like that, so that we are not explicitly charging people for our services. Our for-profit entity explicitly serves the civilian or non-military connected community. The majority of our clients in our for-profit programming are individuals who have been referred to us through Health and Human Services as part of the Children's Long-Term Support funding, or through Comprehensive Community Services. I do see some adults through Comprehensive Community Services, but most of my participants are middle and high school youth in the civilian side of things. In our veteran side of things, we see individuals who have like recently enlisted all the way through. I think our oldest veteran that frequents, I want to say he's Vietnam era. And he comes out quite regularly. He mainly comes out to sing to us, not to do anything with the horses and donkeys, but he always comes out with a song in his heart, and is has a good time when he's out here.
Oh, that's awesome. You're building a community up there.
Yes, yeah, we're really interested in building a community. Our like overall big picture aim is really the reduction of isolation and loneliness. So yes, we're supporting our community and building skills to help with stress management, to help with slowing down, to help with authenticity, to help with um, communication, relationships. We're helping folks build those skills, but we're also really intentionally building a community. And part of the way that we're doing that is ensuring that our board of directors is majority veteran or active military. So we have input from the community that we're serving. That was very, very important for us to make sure that we've got community input. And in the long term, as we expand, our aim is to put a veteran through the same certification program that we've been trained to facilitate through, and to ultimately hire on a veteran who's interested in working with horses and interested in serving the veteran community.
Sure, so they can give back.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. So you're bringing together education, equine facilitated learning,
Mm-hmm.
and trauma aware support for veterans, active members, former members, their
Yes.
families, and also children and everything in between.
Yeah, yeah. And we do not require, so sometimes when people hear that we've got some programming really specific to veterans, they want to know, okay, do I have to be working with the VA? The answer is no. Do they have to have a disability status? The answer is no. All we need is to be able to verify their service somehow. So either a DD 214 or a designation on their driver's license, or a VA ID. I mean, there's a plethora of ways that they can verify with us, but it does not matter if they were honorably or dishonorably discharged. It does not matter if they have disability status. Um, if 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 somebody took the oath, they put the uniform on, they will qualify for our services. And part of that is just because of how we're funded. Um, it's really, really important, particularly for my husband who did serve, that we are creating space to serve um, veterans or individuals in the service community who maybe fall through the cracks. Maybe they just somehow fall through the cracks, or they don't qualify for services through the VA for some reason. We want to make sure that we're serving those folks too, that there's something for support there as well.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because there are plenty of cracks people can fall in the veteran world. Maybe it's a newly enlisted member who's dealing with some stress that they want to
Hmm.
manage or cope with, and then
Hmm.
and then all the way maybe to somebody who's suffering from PTSD but doesn't have disability status.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'd like to dive into a little bit why horses are such a powerful mirror for the human emotion.
Yeah. So, horses and donkey, and I always got to throw in the and donkeys because we have donkeys too. And I'm a little biased towards our long-eared pals. So they're really powerful in helping increase our awareness. Um, Oftentimes people will say, just like you said, right? They're a mirror. They're reflecting back to us. But I like to take it even one step further because they're not reflecting back to us exactly what we're doing. They're responding to how we show up. They're responding to the energy that we bring. They're responding to um, the way that we are approaching them. They're so much more in tune um, to what's happening in the environment. They're very attuned to things that we can't hear or things that we can't see. And of course, that's part of their ability to survive in nature, right? They've got to be able to sort of figure out, are you a concern or are you not a concern? And one of the things that I just find most fascinating is how quickly a horse or a donkey can help us sort of pay attention to our own behavior, our own breathing, our own inner turmoil, because they will respond to whatever we're showing up with. Sometimes they respond with um so we have I've got to give you like an anecdote here. We have a horse. His name is Haas. He just seems to know. I don't know how he knows. I don't know what is happening. What I do know is he seems to know when there is somebody who just needs something, an an extra hug, a shoulder, just somebody to acknowledge them. He seems to know, and he seems to single those people out and will just sort of like beeline for them. Sometimes his response is to put his head on their chest. Sometimes his response is just to stand with them. Sometimes his response is to take their hand and physically put it on him. Um, we've we've seen a number of really interesting things with him. Now, I don't know why that's happening. I don't have the science behind it. But what I do know is he has very different responses to different people. And it very much seems to correlate with however they're showing up on that day, whatever they're bringing with them that day, even if they're not verbally disclosing it to me. So, because we're not therapy in the sense that like I'm not diving deep into somebody's um, traumas. We're not diving deep into those. I'm not diagnosing. I'm not treating anything per se. Um, so people can choose to disclose or not disclose anything, and sometimes participants show up and they don't ever say anything. They come out with the horses, they physically touch the horses, they'll maybe say some pleasantries to me, hi, hello, how's your day, that sort of thing, but never do they talk about what's happening with them. But he always seems to know. He always seems to know who needs just that stability or that presence. Um, and and what happens is, we'll see people start to slow down. They'll start to slow down their movements. They might unintentionally start matching his breath and breathing um, in tune with him. And part of my role as the facilitator is to sort of highlight and notice those things so that the participant can create meaning from that or make a learning connection. So I might observe, I noticed that your breathing changed when you put your hand on Haas. What's happening for you? And maybe they're not ready or they don't want to talk about it or they don't know what's happening and they might say, I don't know. And that's great. That's fine. It's all information, right? It's all information in their own learning. So horses really have the power to support us in shifting our behaviors too if something isn't working. My favorite example of this, not veteran specific, but it's specific to high school aged boys. So we had a group of like 6 15-year-old boys out. And it was really interesting. These were some kids who had some run-ins with the law. We were sort of like a stop and part of their therapy process. They wanted to get some horse time in as part of their therapy process. So like their therapists were out with them, their counselors were out with them. And one of the things that I incorporated into those sessions was that we would take the horses who were interested or willing on a walk through the forest. So our property is heavily forested. We've got approximately 29 acres of trails. It's very hilly, and it's just really beautiful terrain. In the fall, we've got the leaves popping. Anyways, we were going to catch some horses and donkeys to take with us on a walk in the forest. Typically, we work with the horses and donkeys at liberty, meaning they have choices about coming or going. They can like choose to nope out and say no thanks if they want. For this particular part of their time, it was going to require us to catch some horses and put a head collar or a halter and a lead rope on them. Because we were going to be leaving the fenced in area and going out into the national forest. As much as I would love them all to be at liberty, it's just not safe with the bears and coyotes and things like that out there.
You got to keep them wrangled. Yeah.
Yes. In that instance, yes. And so one of the things that really made this shift obvious and how the horses can give us some immediate feedback. These guys, they came out there like with a lot of bravado. They were like, I'm going to catch that horse. I'm going to make that horse, we're going to go for a walk. And part of my role is to give them just enough information to keep them safe, and be fair to the horse and be fair to the human. So I'm not just like handing them a halter and lead rope and saying, okay, go catch this horse. Like I'm giving them some education to be fair for the horse, to be fair for the human as they're doing this. But I didn't tell them explicitly like how to do it, right? How to approach the horse, how to change their body, anything like that. And what these guys found is, they're marching in here with all this bravado and they had already been out with the horses and interacting with them for probably like 90 minutes before that. So this is 90 minutes into the session. It wasn't like this was their first interaction with the horses. They had already been out with them. It's just we were changing up the activity. And the horses, even the horses and donkeys who were previously interacting with them, snuggling with them, letting them be scratched, just really making choices to be close to these kids. As soon as they put on that, like, I'm going to make you do this bravado, the horses and donkeys all noped out. They turned around and they left. And it was quite a moment for these kids because they're like, well, we're supposed to catch these horses and we need to do this. And so we had some conversation about, number one, like, how does that show up in their life when they are not at the farm? Like, where does that show up with friends or school or parents, whoever they're interacting with, and how does it go for them? We also had some conversation around like, leadership and what does being a leader look like. And being a leader isn't necessarily like the loudest, biggest person in the room. Um, and how might that impact their relationship with the horses? So these young men, all of the things that they had communicated was like they wanted the horse to be their friend. They wanted the horse or donkey to be to hang out with them. And I said, well, I'm like, so if your buddies are coming over, what is it like for you if they're just like bossing you around all the time? I mean, is that like, how do you receive that as a friend? Um, and so then we took a moment to consider how might we invite the horses? How might we invite the horses and donkeys to go for a walk with us? What would it look like to invite a horse or donkey? And one of the things that these guys decided as a group, their therapy, their therapists were teaching these gentlemen how to use some techniques through heart math. And they were learning how to do something called heart focused breathing, which is really just kind of slowing your breath, focusing on the area of your heart. And it's really just sort of around regulating yourself and slowing yourself down. I literally watched the horses turn around, come back into the area where we were. This particular group, they like to stand in a circle a lot. We had 4 of the 11 horses come and stand in the middle of the circle and fall asleep while this was happening. And so it really gave these young men a like instant feedback on how they were showing up, and how people were responding to them. Whereas like if their therapist had said that, said something to them about it, or maybe a parent or a teacher and kind of scolded them about it, or lectured, it would not have had the same effect. um I honestly I wasn't sure we were going to be able to catch all of the horses. I wasn't sure we were going to be able to regulate ourselves to do it based on how this group was showing up. And what it taught me is number one, anybody can learn to regulate themselves. Anybody can do it. And number two, just the power of slowing down a little, taking a breath, giving your brain that like sense or opportunity to kind of reset for just a minute can change things like in an instant. And these guys saw it. They physically watched the horses all walk away, and then they saw them come back. And so to me, that is the power. That is the power in this work.
That is an awesome story. So is that your first experience with that? I mean, I assume you've had more
No,
than that.
no, it was my first experience with these group of boys.
Okay.
And they were a really interesting bunch because they really wanted me to know like how tough they were. They really wanted me to know how many cars they had stolen and how many laws they had broken. And they were really just sort of like puffing up the whole time they were there. And so it wasn't the first time I had seen something like that happen, but it was for, I think, this group of boys, the first time they had experienced the direct impact of something like that. And for many of these guys, this was the first time that they had ever touched a horse. The only
Hmm.
time they kept telling me, oh, we've seen horses before. What we know about horses is from the video game Red Dead Redemption. So that's what they knew, right? So that's what they were expecting, was whatever happened in Red Dead Redemption, like that's how horses are. And so it was really neat to sort of witness this and be a part of it.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the horses are equines, I guess we'll say. Don't forget about the donkeys.
Can't forget about those donkeys.
They're just such large animals. They automatically command a presence, and they
Hmm.
have perfect, powerful presence to them.
Hmm.
But because of their sheer size, like they command that respect of a human to like yield to or listen to. And humans don't automatically have that power. Even if you're a powerfully present human,
Mm-hmm.
It resonates differently when you're a different animal, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think it resonates differently as well when you're not relying on spoken word necessarily. Because horses really use, they recognize human emotion. So there's been some really interesting research that horses will actually recognize, um, they they're much better at recognizing facial expressions than I think science originally thought. And so they do recognize facial expression, and certainly tone of language and whatnot, but they really use their bodies to communicate. They use their ears to communicate, of course, their tails and their hooves, and their vocal cords. But it's so much more is communicated without ever making a noise, compared to humans.
Yeah, yeah, they don't care what we say
They
or
don't. No, not really.
or think. They just know how we feel automatically through that sixth sense energy field that whatever is invisible that they can
Yeah.
see or sense and we can't, but it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. They've really got to know. I mean, they really, horses really care about, um, you know, am I with my friends? Um, do I have stuff to eat? And like, am I going to live to, live in this moment? They're really interested in many of the same things humans are, right? We want our friends, we need shelter, we need to eat, we need to make sure we're going to live another day, live another day. And
Right.
they're really interested in those things as well. Um, but they're so skilled at when things escalate, being able to really like regulate themselves and come back down to a neutral state. And sometimes we as humans get really stuck in, being activated or elevated or being really, in sort of a state where we're really down or low. And horses just seem to just sort of go back to neutral just much more quickly than humans do in general.
Mhm. Maybe they don't have egos.
I don't know.
I mean,
I, I
why
certainly don't know.
why do you think horses have such powerful presence, or why are they such honest mirrors for the humans? Why have we for thousands of years had this relationship with this animal?
That's an excellent question because we've had relationships with horses for thousands of years. And it's been more than the horse being a tool or equipment for us, because there are ancient images and texts talking about horse welfare. So we know that for a long time, humans related to the horse in a way that the horse was a friend to humans, not just a tool to make a human's life better. Um, so I don't know. I don't know what it is. What I do know is, um, even when I work with people who are like, I'm not a horse person. In fact, there was a gentleman who came out here. He was like, I don't like horses. I'm never going out with the horses. It's not ever going to happen. I like being in the forest. I'll do that when I'm there. So my husband's philosophy is like whatever makes your ticker tick. So we've had veterans come out that just want to like plant gourds in the forest, and that's cool. They just tell me what they want to do. I go buy the supplies, they plant the gourds. That's great. uh there's gentleman that comes out, he fixes fence, he makes sure that our fencing is taken care of, he but is not interested really in like any facilitated work. Everybody says they're not interested. uh well, not everybody. We have a lot of people who say they're not interested, but at like the longer they're here, the more they're like, oh, maybe I want to try that, or maybe I want to see what that's about. And we have found that even when folks tell us they're not interested in being out with the horses, we'll catch them looking, we'll catch them, checking out. the donkeys are in somewhat kind of silly. Um, they've always got something to say. And so, somebody might be a little nervous about, like you said, going out next to a large horse. Our largest horse is quite tall, and people usually kind of look up at her and they're like, wow, she's big. And she makes them a little bit nervous. She's very sweet, but she makes them a little bit nervous. But the donkeys are much smaller, and so sometimes when people are nervous around the horses, they'll want to say hello to the donkeys. um I don't really know what it is. I just know that when people interact with them, something changes.
What do you see? Like, what do people usually experience, or what's a common first experience when they step into the herd environment for the first time?
Well, I think for us, a couple of interesting things happen. Number one, if they have had previous experience in other equine programs that interact with their horses and donkeys differently than we do, sometimes people are like, whoa, I didn't know that I could do this. So um, sometimes what happens, I'm giving you just a little bit of context, but sometimes what happens is when somebody is involved in, let's say, like equine therapy or therapeutic riding, or even an equine facilitated learning program, like there's a ton of different philosophies and theories around how to do this work. And there's lots of philosophies and theories around how much choice the horses and donkeys get in their day, for lots of different reasons. Sometimes it's around safety, etc. So in our program, generally what happens is we spend some time before going in with the herd talking about safety. We're going to spend some time talking about how to be safe with the horses and donkeys because they're all at liberty. You could literally go in and have 11 horses and donkeys sort of up in your business, and if you're not prepared for that, that could be a little much. Which is a big contrast to what folks may have experienced in other programs where they maybe meet the horses in a stall or there may be assigned a horse. So the first big difference that they're going to experience is that the horses have as much choice about choosing to interact with humans as we can give when you are running a program where horses are interacting with humans on a regular basis. So what might happen is 11 horses and donkeys come up and say hello, or no horses and donkeys come up and say hello. And so everybody seems to sort of have like their preference. Some of them don't want that experience, and so then we figure out, okay, where's a happy medium? Where can we be where you can interact with the horses and donkeys in a way that feels safe to you and still giving them some freedom and choice in their time. But what we often see after that initial, wow, this is different than what I expected or different than what I've experienced, is because our horses and donkeys are being given choices about their day. When they're interacting with humans, it's truly a choice. It's not something they're taught to do. It's not something that we're bribing them to do because we have a treat or a reward for them. They're making a choice about it. Now, yes, they're fenced in. We have to do that for safety, right? We can't let the horses and donkeys run wild through the national forest. That wouldn't be safe for us. Our insurance provider wouldn't like it. But within that context, we really have the opportunity to see the individual temperaments and personalities of each horse or donkey come out. And they all have preferences in the sorts of people they like to interact with. Some of our horses and donkeys want to interact more with people who have big energy. And so if somebody comes in with big energy, like rabbit or cheetah energy, where they're just like I don't know, like big motions and
Vibrating.
yes, just vibrating. We have some horses and donkeys that like they're like, "Ooh, that is my person. I need to go say hello," and they will be right up there. And then we have some horses and donkeys that really prefer somebody who is quieter or moves more slowly or maybe is having a tough day. That might be who they choose to interact with. And so because the horses and donkeys have choices, when they're coming to interact with the humans, it's an authentic interaction. It's not contrived, it's not created out of a power imbalance. It's you're being welcomed into this space as as a person who belongs in this space. And for some people, that's a really powerful thing to know that, oh, this horse doesn't have to be on a halter or a lead rope. I don't have to be the person making this horse come to me. They're choosing to do it. Can be really, really powerful for some people because choice there's we say we have lots of choices in our lives, but the reality is from early on people are telling us always what to do and how to be. And so to be seen as you are in that moment by another being that's not judging you, they're just seeing you as you are and interacting with you is pretty powerful.
Mm.
We've had veterans come who have said, um, the one that stands out in my mind was the veteran who told us that after spending like 3 hours, he spent 3 hours with us. He came out and just spent time with the whole herd and interacted with them for quite a while. And he said that it was the first time since he had left the military that his brain felt quiet. And he was doing all the things, right? All the things. He had great VA support, he had great community support, all the things. And he said this was the first time ever his brain felt quiet. He told me he had never been interested in having horses, and his wife had been like talking to him about it. And I think they ended up getting some horses because he felt like if he can get this much relief from 3 hours in the middle of a national forest with 11 horses and donkeys, what might the effect be if he has a horse on his own property
Mm.
and can go out every day? He doesn't have to drive 3 hours away or whatever it was. They drove a really long way. um so I felt like that was really powerful, and that keeps
Oh,
us going even when things are tough.
yeah. Oh, no doubt. That's a beautiful story. They it's amazing to me how unique each horse is and like the individual personalities. So when you
Mm-hmm.
say like there's horses that are gravitate towards high energy or low energy or
Mm-hmm.
sadness, maybe it's almost like your herd is just a mix of these different specialists. And
Yeah.
without words, without coaching, without any sort of dialogue at all, other than body language
Mm-hmm.
and the sharing of the presence, awareness, and energy and all that, just that silence alone can bring that sense of clarity. Like the guy who you just talked about, who felt that sense of stillness in his mind for the first time ever, or for the first time in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing. I
Yeah.
love that what you're doing too, on how like there's no, you know, people don't just come out and then jump on a horse and go for a trail ride. It's the
Mm-hmm.
choice of the person who's there and the choice of the horse in the paddock,
Mm-hmm.
um, um, at their own free will, just using their intuition
Mm-hmm.
to help these people. So,
Yeah, it's been so cool to see when we have horses that come to us from other programs or from other, maybe like where we're their retirement career or where they're soft landing in their later years. And it's really interesting to see how things change when we incorporate choice into their day when maybe they didn't have choice. before, or they couldn't say no. Maybe they were punished by a human for saying no. And it's so cool to see their individual dispositions come out and their personalities come out. It's really fun to see. It always makes me happy when we have a horse that comes to us and they're just like shut down and really, you know, people in the horse world would describe them as bomb proof, like anything can happen and they're just gonna just stand there. And like that is not what I want to see. I want to see a horse with curiosity. I want to see a horse that responds to things. I don't want them to be completely like shut off. And we had this little miniature horse who came to us. She's almost 30. She's getting up there now, but she was one of those types of horses. My husband, in fact, could walk behind her with a chainsaw running and she would just stand like nothing was going on. Everybody was like, oh, that's great. She's going to be great for little kids to ride, all of those things. And I'm like, yeah, that's not how her older years are going to be. She's going to just be a horse. And it took roughly a year and a half before we finally saw her start having opinions about things. And then she had opinions about everything. Nope, I don't like that brush. Nope, this is the only bucket I'm going to use. Nope, I do not like when you walk quickly up to me. I would like you to walk slowly. Nope, you're not going to touch me on top of the head. Nope, you're not going to move fast. I mean, like she just has all of these opinions and in a different place or in a different time in her life that would have been reprimanded, right?
Sure. You gave her that, you liberated her.
Yeah, and it's wild to see the opinion she has now. And boy, does she have opinions about everything.
That's funny. What? Well, how do you think the human nervous system reacts to being in the presence of horses or donkeys?
So there's been some really interesting research, and it's an area of growing research, sort of around how horses and donkeys, and I suppose it maybe happens with dogs and cats too. I don't know the research regarding that, but how being in their presence sort of creates a co-regulation sort of opportunity. How our nervous systems can start slowing down, start becoming a bit more regulated. And I don't know the ins and outs, the science behind that. I know that there's growing research in that area. HeartMath did some research in the area, but it was a really, really small group. I would love for our program to be involved in some research, sort of looking at how our heart rate changes when we're around the horses and donkeys, unscientifically or not real formally. I wear an Apple Watch and it tracks my heart rate, and I sort of look at like, okay, when am I just out doing things? When am I out with a client? When am I, out putting out hay or whatnot? And it's really interesting for me to see what happens to my heart rate when I go out. We have a donkey who likes to hug. Literally will give you a hug. Not with his hooves, but with his head. He puts his head up on you.
Aww.
And I have watched my heart rate. So like I've gone out, maybe I had a stressful day or got off a phone call that was not real pleasant or whatever, and went out, and my husband has put all of these boulders out on our property. We're on a very rocky plot of land, and so anytime he finds something that's big enough that you can sit on, he puts it somewhere so that people have places to sit, because inevitably people want to sit with the horses and donkeys, and we've got to be mindful of safety. So we're like, okay, you can sit on a rock or you can sit on a stump. And so what happens is if I go out and plop myself on my favorite rock and and sit there. This donkey will come, he'll come and put his head in my lap, he'll put his head on my shoulder, and I can literally watch my heart rate um start decreasing. Um, and I imagine there's probably something going on with my heart rate variability and maybe, internal coherence and things like that. Um, I, I don't I don't know the science behind what's happening, but anecdotally, I know that I feel better. And I feel like there's got to be something happening in my nervous system. There's got to be something happening that's taking me out of this activated or elevated state and helping me slow. Um, Maybe it's the touching of his fur. Maybe it's the fact that if I don't hug him back, he aggressively needs to hug me more. I don't know what it is. Um,
But
but
it's
I
a matching, like, oh, go ahead.
but I do know that I feel better.
Yeah. And that's all that matters, right?
Hmm. Yes.
It,
I'm a little bit of a science geek. I would like to know like the science behind it, but not everything in life is quantifiable.
yeah, there's a lot of mysteries out there, and I feel like that's okay. But
Yeah.
the mystery behind the human horse connection or human donkey connection, it seems to me like in simple terms, it is a matching or a mirroring
Hmm.
of the horse who is unaffected by thought maybe or unaffected by ego being the anchor, the dominant nervous system state. And then this would be my hypothesis if I was
Uh-huh.
involved in the study. And then when the human arrives with our ego and our problems and the suffering in our heads arrives and the state of our nervous system is maybe agitated or fight or flight, combat mode, um, the powerful presence of the horse is like a magnet to bring our energy into or our nervous system into equilibrium
Hmm.
with to match the horses would be my guess. Because you mentioned that one of the first things you said was you notice a lot of people that will walk up to a horse and their breathing automatically changes.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Yeah.
we
Without
teach,
them even knowing.
right, yeah, which is awesome because
Hmm.
breath is through our foundation, before we even send people off with a wellness grant to go see a wellness partner, we anchor them with some foundational principles of the language of breath is philosophy that we teach to use our breath to regulate our nervous system
Hmm.
and to build that awareness and that calm presence to calm down or step out of the thinking mind. So everything that you talked about with the benefits of your Operation Horse's Heel is so directly aligned with the fundamentals of our foundation. So I am very proud to have you as a wellness partner and to hopefully get whether people want to take a long drive up to see you if they're not close, or hopefully we can get some wellness grant applicants in your area
Yeah.
to serve because we can't do um, equine therapy on Zoom.
No, you cannot. But I will tell you that one of the big projects that we have been working on is doing some mobile outreach. So we have been working on um, while I, of course, always want to get people to the farm because we're in such a unique setting and it's different than what anyone will have experienced. Even, if they're using Milwaukee urban stables or some of the other programs in the southern part of the state, this will be different. Um, because we're out in the national forest and there's just something about being out with the trees and the terrain out there is there's something about that too. And but we know that everybody can't come this far. And so we really want to create opportunities to bring the horses and donkeys to people, particularly folks who struggle to leave their home or struggle to get out in the community. Um, it won't be the exact same experience as what they would experience here, but we have a few horses and donkeys who um, enjoy getting out in the community, that they're comfortable leaving the farm.
Sure.
And so we do leave. So maybe somebody will want us to come to them.
Hmm. Awesome. That'll be exciting to see. I can picture the trailer already rolling down the road with the QR code on the side. What is this?
That's a
Uh,
great idea. We should put a QR code on the side. It's a
yeah.
project we're working on. We're not quite there yet, but by spring we should be road ready.
Oh, very cool. What county are you in?
We are in Taylor County.
So is this the Shawamigan or Nickel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, we're in the Shawamigan Nicolet. So um our property is not part of the national forest, but we border the national
Oh,
forest.
awesome. And you can ride in there?
Yep, we can ride in
Oh,
there. Yeah. And then we're looking at a land expansion project. We're looking at an expansion project, and that particular plot of land, um, the forest is like surrounds the property. And so
mm,
as long as we're not cutting down trees or we're following the national forest rules, we can go in with the horses um,
awesome.
and
Are,
enjoy that space as well.
are you 12 months a year?
We are 12 months a year.
All
Yes.
right.
Our folks who enjoy the winter need to remember to dress warm and prepare for ice and snow because we do not have an indoor workspace at this time. So we are out in the elements.
Okay. And how can we find you? What's your website?
Our website is www.operationhorsesheal.org. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
All right.
Believe it or not, TikTok is our most active social media.
I can picture Haas's face on a reel right now, like
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Oh,
TikTok has been like the best. It's been great social media exposure for us. I would have never in a million years thought that we should get a TikTok account, but that's actually out of all of the social media platforms, that is the platform where we have the most engagement from the veteran community. Like there
okay.
is a huge veteran community on TikTok.
That's awesome. And that's kind of a fun way to advertise and create through the reels for sure.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today to share about your organization is doing. We're proud to have you as a Blake Matthew Mindful Memorial wellness partner.
Amazing.
And this sort of works in a reciprocal way as you encounter people who are in need of financial assistance that maybe don't fit in your criteria of a
Hmm.
veteran, but also still want to access your services. Please send them our way, and we can get them through our program that way. And the more fundraising we do in Taylor County, in the Northwoods, the more grants we'll have available in those areas. So
Absolutely.
growing simultaneously together. So
That's amazing. That's awesome. I have some questions, but I'm not sure if you want to wait till after we're done podcasting for me to
no,
ask.
no, you ask away.
Okay, so number one, I'm wondering if there's something that I can share on our website to make sure that we're getting people to you.
Sure.
Um, is there a logo? Can I direct them to you? How do I direct people to you?
It depends on what you want to do on your website. You could you could just put a link, you could do a paragraph, you could do a logo that they click on. However you want to design it on your end,
Hmm.
you just um and then I guess it depends on what you want to point them at. Like because if they just go to our main website, it's pretty comprehensive, so it can
Mhm,
take a little bit of hunting to find maybe the wellness grant application page
mhm,
or like the about summary. So
mhm,
what do you want to share with them? Mainly like the if you want to apply for a wellness grant through this foundation, click here type of a
mhm.
thing.
Yeah, I think so. What is your criteria for your wellness grant so that I can make sure that we're hitting everybody who may be applicable?
Sure. So the we really don't have like boundaries. It's not like you have to be a certain age or this
Hmm.
status or like we've even had plenty of people come through this program that or come through our foundation to receive a grant, not because their barrier is financial related. Their barrier to accessing alternative forms of mental health care might just be, innocence or ignorance
Hmm.
or or the social stigma of just reaching out and talking to somebody in the first place,
Yeah.
not knowing what else is out there. So it's not always a financial barrier. We really don't have a criteria other than like the grants that we have available is directly related to the funding we have available. So
Hmm.
so far those two have been aligned, thankfully. Like luckily, I feel so lucky for that. We've been
Hmm.
able to afford to issue grants to everyone who has applied.
That's amazing.
We've had 125 grants issued in the last year,
Wow.
but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel this year. Our demand is exceeding the fuel in our tank.
Yeah,
And so it's just a constant cycle of fundraising and spending and fundraising and spending. And there's some
I feel
contracting
that.
and expanding that happens, but anyone, there's no limitation. So
Okay, so I think like pertaining to our for-profit sector, it might be good to share the grant um on that page. Um so linking to that might be good. I'll think about it a little bit and I'll follow up with you, but
oh,
I
okay.
I'd like to make sure that people know that, I mean, I really try hard to share your Facebook posts. I try to make sure um that we're getting the word out that way as well, but I also know like not everybody Facebooks. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, we'll do some cross marketing too as we get there's like five new providers, wellness partners that we need to add to the website. It'll probably either happen today or tomorrow. And then within
Mhm.
the next month, your individual wellness partner page will be built on our website. And then we'll
Got
make a
it.
Facebook post about it and say, hey, everybody, we're proud to partner with Operation Horses Heal. This is what they're about. We'll create a summary of what you do and then make that post just to make people aware of, we have this option available. Because one of the questions we ask in our onboard interview meetings is, um, like a list of all the different therapies or treatments people have tried. And one of
Hmm.
those options is um, animal therapy or
Hmm.
equine therapy. And then when that whole process is done, they go back and they circle which ones they're the most interested in
Got it. Got it.
after it's been explained to them. And we've had, I would say, five or six people circle animal therapy.
Hmm.
And up until now, we haven't had that available. So we're super grateful to have you on diversifying our options and because transforming ourselves looks different for everybody. And
Absolutely.
right. And so whoever is drawn to the animals or the equines I love that we can now provide that just as another resource. So thank you. Thank you for your
Yeah.
time and thank you for what you do and for reaching out.
Yeah. Well, thank you for thinking of us. I mean, when I saw saw some of the posts coming out, I was like, wow, that's really cool. We need to connect. And funders love when there's collaborations. So for um for everybody involved. Funders love that, thinking about grants and we just finished up a grant, right? Submitting a proposal for a grant right now. And I think like the last 5 questions were about our community collaborations. How are we
Okay.
communicating with other organizations? What sort of things do you do to I mean, like they just really, really wanted to know what does collaboration look like because there's only so much grant money to go around and funders want to know that they're going to get more bang for their buck, I think.
Right. We're building a spider web, this network of
Mhm.
connections in this wellness community.
Mhm.
Um, so
Yeah, and I love um you know thinking about non-clinical approaches and including that even though we don't have any therapists on our staff. And I'm really, really mindful about myself using, calling the work that I do therapy because I'm not a therapist. I keep it in that scope of learning. But when you look at the the pillars, like what creates our mental health or our wellness, learning and skill building is part of that. Being able to build new skills that we can transfer, through different areas of our life contributes to our overall well-being. You don't have to go to traditional therapy, and I'm not like discounting traditional therapy. There's lots of benefits to working with a clinician or a therapist, but there's also many benefits to doing things from an alternative or a non-clinical standard, as well.
yeah, no doubt, especially all the options that exist that are nature based, whether it be an animal or
Mhm.
uh, a walk in the woods
Yeah.
or just the nature of our breath, you know. And I do look at it as therapy. And I always tell people we're not therapists, but your therapy is whatever, you know. They say laughter is the best medicine. So
Mhm.
is going to a comedy club therapy?
Mhm.
You know, a lot of different things is a walk in the woods,
Yep.
laying in the grass, looking at the stars, sitting with the horse. You know, there's just such therapeutic things that
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. And I always tell people you can call it whatever you want. I
Sure.
if just because I'm being careful about how I phrase it, you can call it whatever you want. It's
Right.
whatever it means to you. It's not about the meaning that I hold. It's about your meaning and what it means for you. And um there's a young man who comes out here all the time and he's like, I know it's not therapy. I know you're not a therapist, but this is my therapy. And I'm like, it's fine. It's your time, man. You can call it whatever you want. You can say we're tap dancing on bananas. I don't care. Whatever it means to you.
Yeah.
Um, you
Well, the
know.
magic is in the horses, right?
Mhm.
And they're maybe the real therapists, but I'm so proud of you for holding that space and bringing them together because the doors you're opening for people to experience this level of mysterious human horse connection
Mhm.
that just makes us feel better
Mhm.
is so awesome. And this wouldn't be happening without you. So thank you for being there. Whatever hat or title you want to give yourself, we're grateful that you're there.
Well, thanks so much. Thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming on, Rachel. Very nice to meet you.